Today's major news from Korea. This is political news. The People's Power has filed a complaint with the prosecution against 10 people related to the Moon Jae-in government in relation to the repatriation of North Korean fishermen in 2019. After a final meeting at the National Assembly on the 19th, the party's National Security Disorder Investigation Task Force announced that it had filed a complaint with the Supreme Prosecutor's Office against 10 former government officials related to the North Korean defector North Korean repatriation case, the North Korean wooden boat defection at Samcheok Port, and the Benganyang Island Northern Limit Line NLL crossing incident. Regarding the November 2019 repatriation of North Korean fishermen to North Korea, the former Blue House Chief of Staff No Young-min, former National Security Affairs Office member Yoon Gun-young, former National Security Office Director Chung Eui-yong, former Deputy National Security Office Director Kim Yoo-jeon, former Unification Minister Kim Yeon-cheol, former Defense Minister Jeong Aim, and former National Police Commissioner Min Ga-pryong accused. The TF plans to apply charges such as murder, abuse of power, illegal arrest and confinement, and neglect of duty. In the case of the defection of the wooden ship at Samcheok Port in June 2019, former Chief of Staff Chung Eui-yong, former Director Soo Hoon, and former Minister Jeong Aim were charged with neglect of duties and abuse of authority. Accused of Rep. Jeon Joo-hai, a member of the task force, said that there were various opinions about the inclusion of former President Moon, and they were all reflected, and they were excluded from the accusation. Meanwhile, the TF is also considering filing charges against former Defense Minister Song Young-moo, former Security Commander Lee Sok-gu, and Military Rights Center Director Lim Tae-hoon, who played a role in the dismantling of the Defense Security Command. In a phone conversation with U.S. Secretary of State Tony Blinken on the morning of the 19th, Foreign Minister Park Jin expressed regret for North Korea's rejection of the Bold Initiative, South Korea's roadmap for North Korea. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs said that the ministers of the ROK and the United States expressed regret for the contents of the statement released on the same day by North Korean Vice Chairman Kim Yo-jong, and while maintaining a strong ROK-U.S combined defense posture, they are working closely with the international community to make diplomatic efforts to stop North Korea's provocations and return to dialogue on denuclearization. Announced that they have decided to proceed without hesitation. The two sides conducted follow-up discussions on the bold initiative proposed by President Yoon Suk-yeol in his Liberation Day congratulatory address during the phone call on the same day, and Secretary Blinken reaffirmed strong U.S. support for the bold initiative. He reaffirmed that in relation to the Taiwan Strait issue, peace and stability in the maritime region are important, and peace in the Taiwan Strait is essential to the security and prosperity of the Indo-Pacific region. The call took place 2 weeks after the brief face-to-face meeting between the ROK and the U.S. foreign ministers held in Phnom Penh, Cambodia on the occasion of the ASEAN-related foreign ministers meeting on the 5th. The North Korean puppet's Rodong Sinmun said in a statement by drug addict Kim Yo-young that President Yoon Suk-yeol's Liberation Day congratulatory speech on the 15th said that he would never deal with the bold idea that was publicly proposed to North Korea, calling it the height of folly far from being realized. Kim Yo-jong of the North Korean Puppet Party, a drug addict, criticizes President Yoon in her real name, saying that she is Yoon Suk-yeol, an unscrupulous man who talks about a bold idea today and pushes for a war practice against North Korea tomorrow. I set a date to take care of you and worry about you. The South Korean government's bold initiative for North Korea begins with support and cooperation in the economic field to improve the quality of life for North Koreans and ensure the security of the regime when North Korea gives up its nuclear development and converts to practical denuclearization, starting with mutual trust in the political and military fields. It contains the contents of taking measures to build, etc. The President's Office and the Ministry of Unification also expressed regret that drug addict Kim Yo-young used rude remarks to President Yoon in this discourse and distorted the bold idea. As the Democratic Party's Emergency Response Committee decided to maintain Article 80, Paragraph 1 of the party constitution, which is at the center of the bulletproof controversy, the Dog Daughters, supporters of Democratic Party lawmaker Lee Jae-myung, posted a petition demanding the deletion. A petition was posted on the petition board of the Democratic Party's website on the 17th, requesting the complete deletion of Article 80 of the party constitution. The purpose of the post's petition was to condemn the Emergency Response Committee for overturning the results of Article 80 of the party constitution, which the National Convention Preparatory Committee had discussed for nearly a month. According to the Presidential Office, this police officer graduation ceremony is the first police officer graduation ceremony that President Yoon attends since taking office. The graduation ceremony was attended by 2,280 new police graduates and 9,000 families of graduates, including President Yoon and First Lady Kim Kun-hee. In his congratulatory speech, President Yoon congratulated the young police officers on their first steps, while urging them to do their best in their duty to protect the lives, property, and laws of the people. At the same time, frontline police, such as raising the basic salary of the police to the level of public security positions so that police officers can fulfill their heavy responsibilities and roles with pride, introducing a multiple rank system to rationalize the job structure, and providing fair opportunities for promotion and placement of former police officers promised to improve their treatment. President Yoon also emphasized that we will provide sufficient educational opportunities so that scientific and professional security services can be provided to the people in a rapidly changing security environment. Prosecutors searched the presidential archives for 2 different cases, including forced repatriation of North Korean fishermen and manipulation of the economic feasibility of the Wolsong Unit 1 nuclear power plant, in just 1 day on the 19th. There is also a prospect that the investigation toward the upper line may speed up in terms of the fact that a search warrant for the search and seizure of the presidential archives, which has more stringent requirements, has been issued. According to the legal circles, the Seoul Central District Prosecutor's Office sent about 10 prosecutors and investigators, including prosecutors, to the presidential archives in Sejong on the afternoon of the same day to secure data on the case of forced repatriation to North Korea. In November 2019, the prosecution ended the joint investigation of 2 North Korean defectors, who are believed to have killed 16 fellow sailors at the Blue House under the Moon Jae-in government, and the National Intelligence Service, etc. is under investigation. On July 6, the NIS filed a complaint against the former NIS chief Seo Hoon and others for violating the NIS Act. Former Blue House National Security Office Director Chung Eui-young and former Unification Minister Kim Yeon-cheol were also subject to investigation after being accused by civic groups on charges of abuse of authority, obstructing the exercise of right, neglect of duty, and escaping of criminals. Prosecutors are conducting a search and seizure by selecting and perusing documents that contain the decision-making process of the then government among presidential records. From November 1, 2019, before the fishermen were captured, the Blue House inquired about the expulsion of North Korean defectors for serious crimes to the National Intelligence Service, and on November 4, 2 days after the capture, the policy of repatriation to North Korea was decided at a countermeasures meeting presided over by then Chief of Staff No Young-min. Suspicion has been raised that it was predetermined. In addition, on November 7, the day of repatriation to North Korea, the Ministry of Justice requested a review of legal principles related to repatriation, and it is said that they were expelled even though it was judged that there was no legal basis. At that time, the Blue House National Security Office served as a control tower for the National Intelligence Service, the Ministry of National Defense, and the Ministry of Unification, and made the decision to repatriate to North Korea, and the prosecution is expected to secure a record of the entire process. In addition, when the NIS delivered the report containing the situation of the joint investigation to the Ministry of Unification at the time, it is suspected that the original expressions such as forced investigation required and defective were omitted and revised, such as adding no suspicion of anti-aircraft charges. Records are also expected to be reviewed. The 4th Criminal Division of the Daejeon District Prosecutor's Office arrived at the Presidential Archives earlier this morning and began to secure evidence related to the early closure of the Wolsong nuclear power plant. In May, a civic group against nuclear power plant shutdown filed a complaint against former President Moon, former Chief of Staff Im Jong-sok, and former Chief of Society Kim Soo-hyun, alleging abuse of power, asking them to investigate whether there were illegal acts related to the decision to shut down the Wolsong nuclear power plant. The investigation team is collecting records to ascertain what role the Blue House played at the time in the decision-making process for the early shutdown of Wolsong Unit 1 and whether the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Energy unfairly ordered the shutdown decision. Access to presidential records is restricted for a maximum of 15 years and personal data for a maximum of 30 years. Due to the strict requirements, the prosecution conducted only 9 searches and seizures of presidential records, including this day. The search and seizure was carried out with a warrant issued by the Seoul and Daejeon High Court. The fact that the presidential records are important evidence in the 2 case investigations can be interpreted as partly explained. The Seoul Central District Prosecutor's Office and the Daejeon District Prosecutor's Office are expected to speed up the investigation towards the higher level of the Moon Jae-in government after analyzing the records secured on the day. Prosecutors have launched a forced investigation into the former regional leader of the Democratic Party of Korea, who is accused of receiving hundreds of millions of won in illegal political funds. The Seoul Central District Prosecutor's Office announced on the 19th that the 2nd Anti-Corruption Investigation Division and the 2nd Public Investigation Division had seized and searched the residence and office of a former regional chairman of the Democratic Party of Korea, who is accused of violating the Public Official Election Act and mediation under the Act on Aggravated Punishment for Specific Crimes on the 18th. Jeong Aim, the regional chairperson of the Democratic Party of Korea who was involved in corruption, is accused of receiving hundreds of millions of won in money and valuables from a businessman several times over 3 years from 2019. Prosecutors suspect that solicitations for business convenience were made in the process of receiving money and valuables. The prosecution plans to summon Lee as a suspect for investigation as soon as the analysis of the confiscated material is completed. The regional chairperson, who is being investigated, served as the Secretary General of the Democratic Party of Korea last year, and was nominated for the Democratic Party nomination and ran for office in the by-election of the National Assembly held along with the presidential election in March and the 2016 National Assembly election, but was defeated. The next news is about the economy. The National Financial Industry Labor Union announced a general strike on the 16th of next month. According to a financial union official, a vote in favor of industrial action was held for union members from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. on the 19th. And it was passed with a vote of 93.4% in favor. Accordingly, union members belonging to financial unions such as commercial banks, Korea Development Bank, Korea Credit Guarantee Fund, and Camco Korea Asset Management Corporation will go on strike on the 16th of next month. It is known that the financial union is pushing for an all-out strike. When the general strike of the financial union becomes a reality, it will be the first time in 6 years since September 2016. The financial union demanded a 6.1% wage increase, a 36-hour workweek, and a ban on closing branches. However, the Financial Industry Council, the management company, suggested a wage increase rate of 1.4%. In addition, the labor union is showing dissatisfaction with the reduction of working hours and maintenance of branch offices. Financial labor unions failed to reach an agreement at the dispute mediation meeting of the Central Labor Relations Commission after the breakdown of the collective bargaining agreement, and finally received a decision to suspend mediation on the 26th of last month. However, there is a possibility of avoiding a general strike as there is about a month left until the strike time declared by the union. Last year, the financial union voted a strike, but since then, there has been no strike due to a labor management agreement. Members of the Freight Solidarity of the Public Transport Workers Union of the KCTU are continuing to occupy Haejinro's Seoul headquarters, demanding an increase in freight rates and cancellation of damages. As politicians criticize the protests of the cargo solidarity as illegal, attention is focused on whether active public power will be put into the scene. On the 16th, the members of the cargo solidarity took over the first floor and rooftop of the Haejinro headquarters lobby. Although feminist politicians are clamoring for a strict response to the illegal acts of the cargo solidarity, there is a reaction that the law and principles cannot be felt in the real world. In the process of occupying the headquarters of Haejinro on the 16th, the cargo regiment subdued the security guards and took control of the lobby and rooftop. It is known that some members of the union came in with thinner, a flammable material. 250 employees working at Haejinro's headquarters were terrified, but the police were unable to confiscate the thinner. On the 18th, the cargo regiment blocked the road in front of the Haejinro headquarters and held a rally, leading to severe congestion on the road. The police are sending 600 people to the scene, but they have not stopped the illegal protests of the cargo coalition. An official from Haejinro appealed to the government to resolve the illegal activities firmly. Meanwhile, there are concerns that the conflict between Haejinro and the cargo coalition will prolong. The cargo solidarity is demanding a 30% increase, etc. from the company to make the transportation cost a reality in line with the rise in oil prices. Haejinro, on the other hand, is of the view that the freight borrowers' transportation contractors are foster logistics and cannot directly intervene in the negotiations. Government intervention is also difficult. The Ministry of Employment and Labor cannot directly mediate in that the cargo solidarity is not an official union but an illegal union. Meanwhile, Haejinro announced that it had submitted a complaint to the police against the members of the freight union of the KCTU Public Transport Workers Union, who were occupying the lobby and rooftop of the headquarters and siege. McDonald's Korea announced that it would raise the prices of 68 menu items by an average of 4.8% starting from the 25th. By product, the double bulgogi burger single item will be adjusted from 4,401 at $3.29 to 4,501 at $3.35, and the Big Mac single item will be adjusted from $4,601 at $3.44 to $4,901 at $3.67. It was decided to raise the price again after about 6 months after raising the price of 30 menu items on February 17. A McDonald's official said that some price adjustments were inevitably made due to the rapid rise in domestic and overseas costs such as raw material prices and logistics costs. The prices of franchise burgers as well as McDonald's seem to go up one after another. Burger King raised the prices of 33 products by an average of 2.9% in January, and then raised the prices of 46 products by an average of 4.5% on the 29th of last month. Lotteria also raised the prices of about 60 products by an average of 4.1% in December last year, and then increased the prices of 81 products by an average of 5.5% in June. KFC and Mom's Touch also raised the prices of some products twice this year alone. All companies explained that they raised prices because of the rise in raw material prices, logistics costs, and labor costs. An employee made this request while Samsung Electronics Vice Chairman Lee Jae-yong attended a staff meeting at the Jeju campus in Yongin, Gyeonggi Province on the 19th. Vice Chairman Lee, who was handed the employee's smartphone, gladly made a video call with the employee's wife. Vice Chairman Lee also took a commemorative photo with all the attendees while responding to the employee's requests for a selfie. Among Samsung Electronics employees, the active communication of Vice Chairman Lee was more a topic of discussion than attending the groundbreaking ceremony for the semiconductor R&D complex, which is the main event that day. When Vice Chairman Lee moved to attend the groundbreaking ceremony, numerous employees followed and asked to shake hands. Vice Chairman Lee smiled warmly and held the hands of the employees. They had lunch together with the staff at the cafeteria, but it is said that they received ramen and ate it deliciously. The reason Vice Chairman Lee went out with such active employees is because he saw a flexible organizational culture as an important task for high efficiency. He judged that all members of the organization, from the top management to the lowest level, must communicate without formality to promote challenge and innovation. Vice Chairman Lee listened to various suggestions at a meeting held with about 10 executives and employees on the same day. According to a company official, Vice Chairman Lee said that he would gradually increase opportunities for direct communication and ordered that he strive to have a flexible mind that can cope with any changes. The Hunger Union entered the countdown to a legal strike as a vote in favor of industrial action conducted by the Hunger Union against its members was passed. According to industry sources on the 17th, the Kia Union held a vote in favor of industrial action against union members on that day, and about 24,200 out of about 28,200 voters voted, resulting in an 89.4% approval rate. The Kia Union had gone through 7 rounds of wage and collective bargaining until the 11th, but the management declared a break in the negotiations. The demands of the Kia Union include a basic wage increase of 165,201, improvement of the salary system and the abolition of the double wage system, job safety through new hires and extension of the retirement age, 30% of the operating profit of the previous year as a bonus, and the establishment of a future car factory in Korea. They are also urging the withdrawal of reckless overseas investment in relation to U.S. plant investment. On the 11th, the union filed an application for dispute mediation with the Central Labor Relations Commission. Following the approval of the vote on the same day, if the Central Union Committee decides to stop industrial dispute mediation, the union will have the conditions to legally strike. Previously, the labor and management of Hyundai Motor Company had reached a collective wage agreement with the goal of a 4.3% increase in basic wage, so the Kia Union was expected to reach an acceptable agreement. The last news is news related to international and domestic social issues. Ahead of the ROK-U.S joint drills, China has been conducting live-fire drills in the West Sea and the South China Sea. According to the website of the Chinese Maritime Bureau on the 19th, the Tangshan Maritime Bureau banned the entry of ships, saying that it would conduct live ammunition shooting drills in the waters of Bohai Bay in northeast China from midnight today to 10 a.m. on the 25th. The Shandong Maritime Bureau is also conducting live ammunition firing drills in the Weifang port area of Bohai Bay from 4 a.m. to midnight every day from the 19th to the 21st, following the 17th. The Weihai Maritime Bureau conducted military activities in the West Sea from the 17th to the 19th. Recently, Dalian Maritime Bureau also blocked ships from entering until 12 o'clock on the 20th, saying that it is conducting a military mission in the northern waters of the West Sea. These areas are close to the Korean peninsula as the coastal areas of the Shandong and Liaodong peninsulas. China has also begun military exercises in the South China Sea. The Guangdong Maritime Bureau announced on the morning of the 19th that on the morning of the 20th, they would conduct live ammunition shooting training in the waters south of Dawansan Island in the Guangdong estuary. The Qinglin Maritime Bureau conducted military exercises in the South China Sea from the 17th to the 19th. Some analysts have suggested that China's move was conscious of the ROK-U.S joint exercise. Earlier, the Chinese military conducted high-intensity military exercises in the Taiwan Strait, following the visit of U.S. House of Representatives Speaker Nancy Pelosi to Taiwan. The South Korea U.S joint exercise will begin on the 22nd. The new government work plan reported to President Yoon by the Ministry of Health and Welfare on the 19th contains awareness of the health insurance system problems that President Yoon has pointed out since his candidacy and measures to improve it. The Ministry of Health and Welfare made an item titled Expanding Essential Medical Care Through Drastic Health Insurance Spending Reform in the Business Report document, stating the improvement of standards for foreign dependence and prevention of theft of health insurance qualifications. He also hinted that the former government would use a scalpel to strengthen health insurance coverage, also known as Moon Jae-in care. He announced his future plans, saying, "We will thoroughly re-evaluate insurance premiums for these items, as a result of the awareness that ultrasound and MRI examinations are being paid for and are encouraging excessive use of medical care." The Ministry of Health and Welfare is weighing the addition of the 6-month stay condition in relation to the change in the standard for foreign dependence. At a briefing on the same day, Second Vice Minister of Health and Welfare Lee Sunhee said that there is a controversy about receiving expensive medical services after foreign dependents have just arrived in Korea. However, there is a problem that family members of expatriate employees of foreign companies will not be able to receive health insurance immediately. "We will improve what we can improve," he said. In this regard, President Yoon pointed out that foreign subscribers must meet requirements such as residency in Korea for at least 6 months during the candidate period in January of this year, but registered dependents can receive benefits regardless of the institution of residence. On the 19th, the Jeju Immigration Service arrested 2 Thais who entered Jeju Island pretending to be a group tourist and started working illegally. According to the Jeju Immigration Service, the arrested Thai woman entered Jeju Island on the 6th and escaped from the group tour group and was arrested on the 13th after visiting the coastal passenger terminal of Jeju port for the purpose of illegally working on a farm in Jeollanam-do. She said the next day, this Thai woman was ordered to leave immediately. Another Thai woman also entered Jeju Island on the 9th, and she was arrested on the 16th while she was working illegally at a restaurant on Jeju Island after she got out of the group tour. She said that this Thai woman will also be deported as soon as the related investigation is completed. Employers who illegally hire Thai women will also be given a notice to pay a fine. An official from the Jeju Immigration Office said that cases of abuse of the electronic travel permit system not being applied to Jeju Island continue to occur, and that they will strengthen immigration screening to block illegal entry attempts masquerading as tourists. Meanwhile, among the 1,390 Thais who arrived at Jeju International Airport by air from the 2nd to the 15th, a total of 822 Thais, 59.1%, were denied entry because the purpose of entry was unclear, such as illegal employment attempts. In addition, among the 568 Thais who were allowed to enter, a total of 94, 16.5%. Thais left the group and disappeared. Of these 94 people, only 2 were arrested. It has been reported that former professional baseball player Jeong Aim was sentenced to prison in the first trial after being handed over to the 5th drunk driving charge. Jeong, who played an active role as a star in the KBO League in the past, was already arrested 3 times for drunk driving between 2004 and 2016 and was sentenced to a fine or suspended sentence of imprisonment. In particular, he committed the same kind of crime again after 3 months, even though he was sentenced to probation in prison for unlicensed drunk driving in June last year. The court explained the reason for the sentencing, saying that the accused had drunk and drove several times even considering that he had dependents, such as young children, and that he needed a corresponding punishment for driving under the influence of alcohol again. Meanwhile, Jeong received an indefinite suspension from the KBO for assaulting a security guard while intoxicated in July 2008 while he was a Lodi Giants player. Also, less than a month after returning to the squad the following year, he drank again and became a talker. Eventually, he was expelled from his team, effectively retiring in disgrace as a player. After that, after 7 days of turning into a commentator for a broadcasting company in 2010, Jeong caused a drunk driving accident with a blood alcohol concentration of 0.125%, which is equivalent to revoking his license. Thank you for watching today. Please like and subscribe.